You're lying in bed at night and you're asleep, and tomorrow you've got a big thing coming. You've got an interview, or you're seeing the bank manager, or you've got some big thing to do in the family or something like that, and you're really worried about it. And you have a dream in the middle of the night, and in the dream a big shiny ghostly figure comes to you and says, you know what, you're going to be victorious. That would give you amazing confidence, wouldn't it? Hi, my name's Ed Morrow. Welcome to UglyFish. We're all about helping you to hear from God, that He's real, that He loves you, that He cares about you, and that He's in complete control of the universe in which you find yourself. What would you do, I wonder, if you had a dream like that on the eve of an important occasion? Today's video is all about somebody who that happened to, somebody called Oswald, back in the 7th century. And it's part of the series that we've been looking at about what God's saying to the UK at the start of the 21st century. Here's the story of what happened on that night and the subsequent day. So look, Oswald gathers a force in the low hundreds and he sails down from Iona and along the Solway, most probably landing at Carlisle. And from there they march quickly along the Stane Gate, and he sets up camp here at Heavenfield, which is like within an hour's march of Corbridge, but it's out of sight of Cadwallon, and that's key. And for many years the ensuing battle has been called the Battle of Heavenfield, even though, you know what, it's highly likely it didn't even happen here at all. That night Oswald is sleeping in his tent, and he has a vision of St. Columba. St. Columba's the person who founded the monastery at Iona, where Oswald has just spent the bulk of the last 17 years of his life. And St. Columba's shining with angelic beauty, and he's covering almost the whole camp with his robe. And Columba quotes the Lord when he's speaking to Joshua in the Bible. And this is what he says to Oswald. He says, "Be strong and act manfully. Behold, I will be with thee." St. Columba tells Oswald to go out into the coming night in the battle, and that God has granted Columba that Oswald's foes will be defeated, that they'll be put to flight, and the enemy Cadwallon will be delivered into Oswald's hands. And he tells him that Oswald's going to return victorious, and that he's going to reign happily as king. Oswald prepares his men for battle, and he sets up a cross that he holds up with both hands until his soldiers had heaped up earth and fixed it in position. And he calls out to the whole army, "Let us all kneel together and pray the Almighty, ever-living and true God, to defend us in His mercy from the proud and fierce enemy. For He knows that we are fighting in a just cause for the preservation of our whole race." And where I'm standing right now is the most likely spot where the original cross was set up. The very next morning, Oswald and his men trekked down from Heavenfield here to Corbridge, and they surprised Cadwallon and his army. And I thought for a long time that what must have happened would be that Cadwallon and his army must have tried to get across the River Tyne here at the Coburn, because the old Roman bridge used to be here. But even in their days it was unusable and just a ruin. If you think about it, with Cadwallon's men having a year's worth of plunder from Northumbria weighing them down, it's likely that they would ford the river here, where it's at its lowest. So they're totally scattered, and for some reason, we don't know why, they don't go down Dare Street towards Dara. Maybe Oswald and his men have got it cut off. It's a more likely scenario. So what happens is they flee down towards Whitley Castle, which is about 16 miles in that direction. It's the site of an old Roman fort, so it would make sense for them to try and get refuge there if they could. So this is the Devil's Water. It's a stream that runs into the River Tyne here. And all the action is down the banks of the Devil's Water, and for 5 miles the battle rages on, or the men are just running away, Cadwallon's men. until Cadwallon himself is cut down in the most ignominious spot you can think of. Here at Pethfoot, Cadwallon meets his doom, and Oswald prevails. Oswald then unites Deira and Bernicia, and he becomes king over all Northumbria.